Before I tell you about the crisis that nearly broke our family, let me take you back to where it all began. 6 years ago, I was completely focused on my career, spending long hours at the office and weekends networking at industry events. My mom always warned me that I was married to my job. The irony wasn't lost on me that I met Tom at a marketing conference where I was the keynote speaker. Questions from the audience? Yes, the gentleman in the blue suit. Your presentation on authentic brand storytelling was fascinating. But don't you think there's a risk of losing the magic when we focus too much on data? His question caught me off guard. In an industry obsessed with metrics, here was someone talking about magic. Interesting perspective. Would you like to continue this discussion over coffee? The words left my mouth before I could stop them. I had never been so forward, especially not in a professional setting. I'd love to. Though I should warn you, I work in creative, so I might challenge your data-driven approach. That coffee turned into dinner, which turned into long walks through Central Park, discussing everything from marketing strategies to our dreams for the future. Tom was different from the men I usually met in the industry. Where they were calculating, he was spontaneous. Where they saw numbers, he saw stories. You know what I love about you, Maddie? You make spreadsheets sound like poetry. Our courtship was a whirlwind of creative debates and passionate discussions. Tom's perspective challenged my rigid thinking, while my structured approach helped ground his creative flights of fancy. When he proposed 6 months later, it wasn't with an elaborate plan or expensive ring. Instead, he created a heartfelt marketing presentation about our future together. As you can see from this graph, our happiness metrics show significant upward potential with a merger of our brands. I said yes through tears of laughter, thinking I had found the perfect balance of practicality and romance. Our wedding was an elegant but intimate affair at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. Tom's vows were beautifully poetic, while mine included a 5-year plan for our happiness. The first 2 years of marriage were everything I had hoped for. We moved into our brownstone, advanced in our careers, and talked about starting a family. Looking back now, I wonder if I missed the early warning signs. The way Tom would dodge financial discussions, his increasing reluctance to make long-term plans. But back then, I was too captivated by the magic to see the storms gathering on the horizon. The day I found out I was pregnant, I approached it like any other project with a detailed plan and timeline. I even created a color-coded spreadsheet for the next 9 months. Tom's reaction, however, wasn't quite what I expected. A baby? That's incredible. We need to celebrate. Forget the budget meeting. Let's go to that fancy French place you love. His enthusiasm was infectious, but it also revealed our different approaches to major life changes. Tom, we should really start planning. We need to figure out childcare, budget for baby expenses, maybe look into a college fund. Always with the planning, Maddie. Can't we just enjoy this moment? We're having a baby. As my pregnancy progressed, these contrasting approaches became more pronounced. While I was researching the safest car seats and interviewing potential pediatricians, Tom was buying designer baby clothes and expensive toys. Tom, this onesie costs more than my first business suit. We need to be practical. But look how cute it is. Our little princess deserves the best. I started noticing our credit card bills creeping up, but Tom always had a way of brushing off my concerns. The real tensions began when I had to reduce my working hours due to complications in my 3rd trimester. My income decreased, but Tom's spending didn't. Honey, we need to be more careful with our expenses. My maternity leave isn't going to be fully paid. Don't worry so much. I'll pick up some extra consulting work. Everything will work out. But that extra work never materialized, and the closer we got to my due date, the more anxious I became about our financial situation. Then, 2 weeks before my due date, everything changed. My water broke during a virtual meeting, and Tom wasn't answering his phone. I called Charlotte in a panic. "Stay calm, Maddie. I'm on my way." "Have you reached Tom?" "He's not picking up." He was supposed to be at a client meeting, but when Tom finally arrived at the hospital 2 hours later, he smelled of beer and apologized profusely. He'd been watching a game at a sports bar, his phone on silent. I was too focused on my contractions to process my disappointment, but something shifted in me that day. Sophie's birth was both the most beautiful and terrifying moment of my life. After 20 hours of labor, she came into the world with a powerful cry that seemed to say, "I'm here, and I mean business." The first few weeks were a blur of sleepless nights, constant feedings, and a steep learning curve for both of us. At least, it should have been both of us. "Tom, can you take Sophie for a bit? I need to pump and try to get some sleep before the next feeding."
"Sure, babe. Just let me finish this level."
The gaming console had become Tom's new best friend. While I was struggling with postpartum recovery and around-the-clock infant care, he had retreated into his virtual world. My maternity leave started feeling less like a precious bonding time with my daughter and more like a glimpse into an unsustainable future. The baby books said fathers sometimes feel left out, but this is ridiculous. "Honey, what you're describing isn't normal new dad adjustment. Have you talked to him about it?" "I've tried, but he says I'm being too controlling, that I need to let him de-stress his own way." When Sophie was 6 weeks old, I received an email from my company that made my heart sink. "Tom, they're cutting back on maternity benefits. I need to return to work part-time next month or risk losing my position."
"Already? But who's going to take care of Sophie?"
His question hit me like a slap, as if childcare hadn't been his responsibility too all along. "We need to figure that out together. I can't be the only one managing everything."
Okay, I'll help more. Promise."
But his promises proved as empty as our joint savings account. While I juggled client calls and diaper changes, he was networking at bars and gaming into the early hours. The breaking point came when I discovered he had borrowed money from our emergency fund to buy a new gaming system.
"It was on sale. Besides, I needed something to keep me entertained while you're busy with the baby."
His words echoed in our nursery as I rocked our daughter, wondering how the charming, creative man I married had become this selfish stranger. At 35, I had everything I thought I wanted: a successful career as a marketing director at a prestigious firm in Manhattan, a beautiful brownstone in Brooklyn, and a reputation for being one of the most reliable professionals in my field. My life was meticulously planned and perfectly executed, just the way I liked it. That was until I met Tom at a charity gala 3 years ago. He was charming, witty, and seemed to understand my drive for success. Within a year, we were married, and I thought I had found my perfect match. Little did I know how quickly things could change. Now, at 38, I stood in our nursery, gently rocking our 3-month-old daughter Sophie, while trying to keep my eyes open after another sleepless night. The exhaustion was bone deep, seeping into every fiber of my being. "Tom, please, I need your help. I can't keep doing this alone." My voice cracked with desperation as I watched my husband packing his suitcase, seemingly unbothered by my pleading.
"Come on, Maddie. You're so much better at this than I am. Besides, this golf trip with the guys has been planned for months."
Tom barely looked up from his packing, his casual dismissal cutting deeper than any sharp word could. "Planned for months? You just told me about it yesterday. I have an important presentation on Monday, and I haven't even started preparing because I've been up with Sophie every night."
That's what maternity leave is for, isn't it? You're supposed to handle the baby stuff while I keep bringing in my part of the income.
I felt my blood run cold at his words. His part of the income? The same part-time consulting work that barely covered our monthly grocery bills? Your part? Tom, I've been working remotely since Sophie was 6 weeks old because we can't afford for me to take extended leave. I'm the one paying our mortgage.
Always about money with you, isn't it? This is exactly why I need this break. You're constantly nagging about everything.
As Tom headed for the door, I noticed something missing from my wallet on the counter. My stomach dropped as I realized what it was. Wait, Tom, did you take my platinum card?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. I'm meeting the guys at the Four Seasons. Needed something with a decent credit limit.
His casual tone made my head spin. After all our fights about financial responsibility, after all his promises to be more considerate, you took my corporate card without asking? Are you out of your mind? That's tied to my company account.
Relax, Maddie. We're married. What's yours is mine, right? Besides, your company covers all expenses anyway.
I fought to keep my voice steady as Sophie stirred in her crib, threatened by the rising tension. Tom, that card is for business expenses only. Using it for personal expenses is fraud. You need to give it back right now.
Sorry, babe. Already packed it. Don't worry so much. Just code it as a client meeting or something. You're good at creative expense reports.
The casual way he suggested I commit fraud for his golf trip made me feel physically ill. You can't do this, Tom. I could lose my job.
Oh, please. Like they'd fire their star marketing director over one weekend. Besides, Marcus and his wife do this all the time.
He grabbed his bags and headed for the door, leaving me standing there in shock.
Love you both. Try to relax while I'm gone. You're way too stressed lately.
The door clicked shut behind him, and Sophie chose that moment to wake up crying. As I lifted her from the crib, my hands were shaking with a mixture of rage and fear. I had thought parenthood would make Tom more responsible, more mature. Instead, he seemed to be regressing, treating our marriage and my career like a convenience store he could shoplift from. My phone buzzed. A notification from my credit card company about a $5,000 charge at the Four Seasons. He hadn't wasted any time. Standing in our bedroom, surrounded by the chaos of baby items and half-finished work presentations, I felt my world spinning out of control. Sophie had finally fallen asleep, giving me a moment to think clearly. Looking at my phone, I saw 3 more charges from Tom. Expensive restaurants, high-end golf equipment, spa services. Each notification felt like another betrayal. I opened my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard as I accessed my corporate expense management system. One click and I could flag these charges as fraudulent. But something held me back. My mentor Rachel's words from years ago echoed in my mind.
Maddie, in business and in life, never make decisions when you're angry. Strategic thinking requires a cool head.
I closed the laptop and called my best friend Charlotte, hoping her legal expertise might offer some clarity.
Maddie, is everything okay? You sound terrible.
Tom took my corporate card on his golf trip. He's already spent over $10,000.
He did what? Please tell me you're calling your credit card company right now.
I should, but what if he gets arrested? He's still Sophie's father.
And what about you? Your career? Sophie needs at least one responsible parent with a job.
Her words hit home. I had spent years building my career, establishing trust with my company. I couldn't let Tom destroy everything I'd worked for. But as I reached for my phone again, a different plan began forming in my mind. Tom had always escaped the consequences of his actions. Maybe it was time he learned a lesson. Charlotte, what if I wait? Let him dig the hole deeper. Then, when they're about to check out.
That's actually brilliant. He'll have to face the reality of his actions without you bailing him out. But Maddie, are you sure about this?
No, but I'm sure about one thing. This can't continue. For Sophie's sake, something has to change. Over the next 2 days, I watched the charges pile up with a mix of horror and grim determination. Tom's expensive taste was on full display. Luxury restaurants, premium golf courses, spa treatments, high-end shopping. Each time my phone buzzed with a new charge notification, I documented it meticulously, building my case. Between caring for Sophie and preparing for my Monday presentation, I barely slept. Then, early Sunday morning, the moment arrived. My phone showed Tom was checking out of the Four Seasons. With trembling fingers, I dialed my credit card company's fraud department. Yes, I need to report unauthorized charges on my corporate card. Within minutes, the card was frozen. I waited, counting down the seconds. Right on cue, my phone rang, Tom's name flashing on the screen.
Maddie, something's wrong with your card. We're trying to check out and it's being declined. It's embarrassing.
His panicked voice held none of the casual confidence from 2 days ago. Is it? How strange. Almost as embarrassing as having your corporate card stolen and used for personal expenses.
Come on, Maddie. This isn't funny. Marcus and the guys are waiting. Just call and fix it.
I already called Tom. I reported the card as stolen, which it was. I've also documented every fraudulent charge you made.
Maddie, you can't do this to me. What am I supposed to do?
I don't know, Tom. Maybe use your own money? Oh wait, you spent your last paycheck on that gaming console.
The hotel is threatening to call security. Maddie, please.
For a moment, I felt a twinge of guilt. Then I remembered the countless nights I'd spent alone with our crying baby while he played video games. I'm sure Marcus and his wife, who do this all the time, will be happy to help. Goodbye, Tom. The next few weeks were a blur of difficult conversations and painful realizations. Tom had returned home that Sunday evening, humbled and shaken after having to borrow money from his friends to settle the hotel bill.
I've been such a fool, Maddie. I don't even recognize the person I've become.
Tom's voice was barely above a whisper as he sat on our couch, looking more lost than I'd ever seen him. You were supposed to be my partner, Tom, not another responsibility I had to manage.
I know. When did I stop being the man you married? The man who wanted to build a life with you?
Sophie's soft coos from her playpen seemed up the gravity of the moment.
I've already spoken with HR at my company. I'm taking that full-time position they offered months ago, and I've scheduled my first therapy session.
I felt tears welling up in my eyes, but I fought to maintain my composure. Words aren't enough this time, Tom. I need to see real change.
I understand. I'll prove it to you and Sophie, even if it takes years. Can I hold her for a bit?
As I watched Tom gently lift Sophie, speaking softly to her about his promises to be a better father, I saw a glimmer of the man I'd fallen in love with. Over the following months, true to his word, Tom began to transform. He took the full-time position and excelled, channeling his natural charm into client relationships. More importantly, he started shouldering his share of parenting responsibilities. The gaming console gathered dust as he spent evenings reading parenting books and attending daddy-daughter swimming classes with Sophie. One evening, as we sat together reviewing our newly created family budget, I realized something had shifted.
I found all our old date night receipts while organizing the office. Remember that little Italian place in the village?
The one where you spilled red wine all over your new shirt.
I was so nervous that night. I was planning to propose, but kept fumbling the ring in my pocket.
We shared a genuine laugh, the kind we hadn't enjoyed in months.
Maddie, thank you for not giving up on me, for being strong enough to make me face my mistakes.
Just promise me one thing. No more running away when things get tough. We face challenges together.
I promise. No more shortcuts. No more excuses.
1 year later, I stood in our kitchen, watching Tom as he danced around with Sophie in his arms, teaching her to count while making breakfast. The transformation in our lives still amazed me sometimes. The man who had once avoided responsibility now took pride in being a hands-on father and supportive husband.
Look who's awake. Mommy's just in time for our world-famous pancake breakfast, isn't she, Sophie?
Our daughter's delighted giggles filled the room as Tom twirled her around one more time before settling her into her high chair.
By the way, I got that promotion at work. The one I've been working toward.
Tom, that's wonderful. I knew you could do it.
It's all thanks to you, Maddie. You taught me that real success comes from honest work and facing challenges head-on.
I smiled, remembering how far we'd come from those dark days a year ago. We should celebrate. Why don't we have dinner at that little Italian place in the village?
Perfect. I'll ask Charlotte if she can babysit. She's been dying to spend time with her goddaughter anyway.
As I watched Tom skillfully manage both breakfast preparation and Sophie's entertainment, I felt a deep sense of contentment. The crisis that could have torn our family apart had instead become the catalyst for positive change. Tom had not only taken responsibility for his actions, but had worked tirelessly to rebuild trust and become a better person. I love you both so much.
We love you too. Don't we, Sophie?
Our daughter responded with a happy squeal, reaching out for both of us with syrup-covered hands. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of pancakes and family love, I knew that sometimes the hardest challenges could lead to the most beautiful transformations. Our story wasn't perfect, but it was real. We had faced our struggles, grown through them, and emerged stronger together.